So this was an unexpected practice, doing balancing exercises 2 minutes at a time. How did it go? And what practice are we going to pick next? We're going to find out right now.
Welcome to the 2-Minute Practice Podcast.
Here, the hosts of the Lean Into Art podcast explore and encourage you to join us in trying all kinds of different creative activities that help us practice things related to making our art, exploring, growing in our business practice, and even trying things for a healthy lifestyle.
We'll talk about what we practiced recently, things we saw in the community, and then we'll highlight a new idea for us all to practice next.
2 minutes is a findable amount of time to try things. I'm Jerzy Droz, cartoonist and teaching artist.
I'm Rob Stenziger, UX designer, interactive maker, and teaching artist.
Oh, man.
Yeah, here we are again.
Good to talk with you again, Rob.
Yeah, good to talk with you as well, Jerzy. Wow.
So we're back to 2-minute practice, and as I threw out in the intro, doing balancing exercises. How did it go? I don't remember. I really should go back and listen to like the last 5 minutes of the 2-minute practice before I come back to report on these, because I don't remember where this idea came from. I think it was just us sort of ruminating on the idea that the idea that like we alternate between doing like drawing, writing, other kind of creative activities, and music making, and some kind of physical practice as well. Does that match your recollection?
Yeah, it was almost like in the themes that we like to pick from. It was time to do some kind of like physical practice again. So we went there, and it's a bit of a mix, because it's some of the physical practices are more exercise like, some are more like awareness and ergonomic sort of knowing that whatever you do as far as putting your body and effort into stuff during the day, there's probably something you can do to help adjust and or be aware of how it's going for you. So that's how I looked at this one.
So tell me about your experience doing
it. Okay, so as I mentioned last episode, I thought, well, the candidates that seem to just are top of mind for me would be doing a tree pose, and maybe a couple of those to think about it and practice, see what comes up, and then also doing various I don't know what other folks call it in different like martial art physical practices, but the school I went to for Taekwondo a number of years ago was they call it chambering a kick, where it's made of a couple phases of to be ready to push that energy out. There's that the early phase is actually really important. It's not just throwing a leg at something, it's getting the leg in a position to work in a particular way. So that initial step is chambering. And so when you're doing that, you're typically balancing on one foot. And I think that's because of it. Just hearing the word balance, I had like the background of just being in that class or practicing at home and wobbling, and just like the idea of balance brings up that for me. I didn't end up making it to the bow of a boat to wobble on water.
That's right. We did talk about that.
But I did do the ones that just I guess they just leapt to mind for me. So that's where I started. Do you want to talk about where you started, or do you want to just I can continue with how it went?
Yeah, I'd like to hear how it went, and then I'll share my experience. I don't have a lot of reflections on this one. I'm glad I did it, but I'll go into like the difficulties I ran into and what I learned from it at the end of mine. But yeah, I'm curious how it went for you when you were doing your chambering and your tree poses, and what was your experience? How many did you do, and what was your experience doing them?
So I did 7 practices, and I did 2 different tree poses. So balancing, you could have taken this all different ways. I'm just talking about what came to mind for me, right? So, you could have, you could sit, close your eyes, you could do all kinds of stuff. But for me, okay, I did 2 tree poses, and then two front kick chambers, a round kick chamber, a side, and a back kick chamber. So I think that adds up to 7. Um, and in both cases, it's like, I don't know what it. I get excited about sources where I feel like I'm being infused with new experience and learning, right? And so this is why I immediately went right to yoga and taekwondo for balance. This is just, it's so like that feeling of, well, I know I'm in for something. It's rare when I go to do a balancing thing and it's trivial and boring and nothing happens. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do something that might turn out terrible or embarrassing. I'm going to switch to this camera. Oh, and then my mic fell.
Well, so you did telegraph your punch on that one, Rob.
I did. I was like, oh, I'm going to fall down the steps with the pies. Woo. Hello from my other camera. So let's see, how could I do tree pose with holding them? I guess I'm just going to make do. So tree pose, I'm not a yoga instructor, but like you set your set a leg where it's basically making the letter P or a number 4 against your other leg, and then you can do different things with your arms, right? And all of that is causing like your core and like your feet, where I'm all of a sudden like getting a better awareness of like, oh, my feet aren't just this flat thing that hangs out at the bottom of my leg. They actually have all these different ways to sort of grab and contact with the ground. And the more that, and so like becoming aware of that to me is such a gift, right? Because, sometimes I can start a balancing endeavor and it connects and it's not that hard. But other times I go to do this and I'm carrying other ideas with me. And I think, like, oh, this could be silly, but I have all these stresses on my mind. And wait, I mean, literally, I'm not even acting this out. I'm starting to think about being stressed and I'm getting worse at balancing. And I'm like, wow, how cool is that at least, and I don't think I'm alone in this, where like how we think about, this is going to be extra interesting. So like chambering a kick, so this could be a few different things, the start of a front kick chamber, or it could be the start of a side kick. Oh, I did not expect to be holding a microphone while I was doing this. And then you can extend it out and then come back and down. But all that could go wrong at any time, as far as like, when I was saying these words, I was able to still stay with my breath and stay sort of connected, and more stuff falling. Anyway, that doesn't always work. And then I can start to think of how I can just come to this moment, right? Because it's almost like my body is visualizing, you've got a lot of burdens and other ideas and chaos in your head. You need to do some kind of letting go, is what I'm talking with myself about. And because when I do that, if I can, then all of a sudden my foot works and my leg can do its providing of a stable base, connecting me to the ground and all that. And then my core and it's like everything gets like more connected and working together, instead of like tensions all fighting against one another. So anyway, that's kind of what I thought would happen. And I had some of those ups and downs, especially when it's like, Oh no. Let's see. I shut off the right mic. All right, good. So I can just set. All right, no more holding that second mic. So I can. Well, yeah, I don't know where I was as far as it played out. Where I had these ups and downs and conversations with myself, which is kind of like I knew what I was in for, and it went roughly like that. Where I was hoping I would be surprised and being like, oh, I don't know, somehow I am just so comfortable and able to switch into a present, relaxed mode that I wouldn't have trouble. But there's always, it happens, and it just hits me where I'm like, you've got so much that you're wrestling with right now in your head that that's not going to work to do this activity. And so time to do that thing that you've bumped into before, just get here, just be right here, and use your breath, use the trick, whatever it is in my head, where it's like I can go from, when it's working, I can acknowledge that, though, that I've got these concerns and other ideas competing and tensing me up, but they don't have to stay here right now. I can set them aside. So that's it. It was a bit what I expected. Yeah.
When did you do your practices?
All over so I would say primarily either just before lunch or super late at night.
That sounds right.
Yep.
So that's my observation is it's very parallel to what you experienced. And I think it's important to underline that both of us have some experience doing martial arts meditation. You more martial arts than me. I did like year and a half of Aikido when I was in my early 20s. It's been decades since I've done it, so don't ask me to even name the moves. But part of that practice, and I was doing it very seriously at the time, was like sitting and doing breathing meditation. And we actually concluded every Aikido session with some quiet meditation. And so having that firsthand understanding of like what that feels like when you are letting, there was a Bob's Burgers recently this past week, where Bob takes on meditation, and then like Jimmy Pesto comes and gives him a hard time. He's like, "That's wonderful for you, Jimmy." He just doesn't. It's like just sliding right off his back, and the way they portrayed it is it's very comical, very funny. But I'm watching it going like, he'd still feel angry. It's just the anger wouldn't last, and he ends like, "Come on." But anyway, that's an important thing to point out here is like it's not that your mind becomes this empty thing. It's just more like the stuff can just happen, and the feeling doesn't become bigger than your body, right? That's my experience anyway. And so when I like
trying to put it to words. I like those words too. Like how, like, because this can be so intuitive as you get into trouble with the standing and the balancing, and then start to navigate and feel out what seems to work better. But then to give that words, this is fun. Did you do some standing balance stuff too?
Well, I used a balance tool, which is something Anna and I got years ago. It's like it's a round plank of wood with sort of half of a sphere on the bottom, and it's got some textured material on the top, so you can hold your position, and you just stand on it, and it rolls around. And so it's primarily used as a stretching device, is to stretch your calves. But it's a balancing tool. So like you're kind of like trying to hold your position on this wobbly thing. And as I talked about in the last 2-minute practice, like I have a lot of issues with my center of balance. Like I fall down really easily if I try to do anything that's complicated with my spine. So I was eager for that.
Got a different situation there, right? I mean,
yeah.
I was like, oh, I chuckled kind of, and it's like, I'm not chuckling at you. You're a funny guy. That's all.
Well, thank you for that. But yeah, so I was looking forward to like just getting in contact with this idea of like, okay, let's practice balance a little bit. But one of the things I did feel as a result, because I did it almost every day. I did it I think 10 times. And I feel stronger. That was the first thing I noticed, is that I feel a little bit more physically stronger. But the difficulty I ran into was I wasn't doing it at any kind of regular time of the day. And it suddenly became oh crap, I didn't do my 2-minute practice. I got to get that in before I go to bed. So there were days where it happened between tasks. Like, I just finished the thing. Before I move on to the next thing, let me do my 2-minute practice. Right. And that felt very much like I felt attentive. I felt ready for it. I felt sort of, it was easy to get into that mental space where I'm relaxing my mind, as it were, so that I can focus on balancing. But when I showed up with the oh crap feeling, it didn't go great. It was not as pleasant of an experience. And I found I was having that dialogue again of like, okay, Jerzy, you've been here before. It's time for you to, like, you're processing a lot of things right now, and you're showing up to a lot of things with the past thing on your mind. So I'm grateful for the practice for this reason, is it was a way to make it very viscerally clear to me how I am not doing enough context switching when I'm switching between one thing to the next. I'm showing up to a lot of things with my previous stressors still activated. And the balancing reminded me of, like, taking a few minutes to just breathe before you do your next thing is probably a good idea. So, yeah.
Isn't that wild? It's like there's no way to fool. It's what do they call that? It's there's a whole discipline in and I is it related to psychology or neuropsychology or something where people ask you about, like, what you're feeling in your body, and it helps you get more centered and start describing your emotions and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember the term for it, but but it seems related. It's almost like you're there's no way to kind of, like, if you just tell yourself a story, oh, I'm all right, I grabbed a snack, or I have a beverage, I'm going to sit down and do my, sit with my tea and my next round of work. You can tell yourself a story, you can move yourself, you've got the, executive function to go through those and check some stuff off. But how are you really? And it's almost like balancing is like, balancing knows how you're really. And
yeah, and it's a third party observer.
Yeah. But and I've when I first encountered this, I found it immensely frustrating. And the reason I'm kind of I'm just sharing some observations about it. I'm not feeling extra waves of emotion or whatever, because there's no shame in this. Like, wherever you're at is where you're at. And I've bumped into it where, because in class I remember saying, like, I've practiced this. I can do this. I can stand with the rest of the students and hold my leg up and some days I would be the wobble, 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 wobble and person. And I'm like, seriously, this is years along in my practice. Why? And so I would be frustrated, and eventually, like, encountering that as something else to practice with. So anyway, like, I don't have that argument with myself anymore about it. It just sort of, I know I can't fool my own tension and ideas and extra stuff that I'm carrying with me, if I'm also trying to really connect with my body, and balancing is a good way to do that.
That's good. Oh, cool. Well, do you want to take a break and then talk about what we're going to do next for our practice?
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
I should say take a break and then discover what we're going to do next for our practice.
Oh, sure. Because neither of us know. It isn't like, and then we secretly look over here and that's written. No, it's not written down anywhere.
We have no idea.
We have a few ideas written down, but, like, we've almost never picked any of those. So.
All right. Well, let me hit the music to get us over here. So if this is helping you think and do useful work, a great way you can support this project is to join us on our Patreon, patreon.com/leanintoart, where you can support us for as little as $1 a month, or you can join the Lean Into Art monthly lab for the low introductory price of $10 a month. Patreon.com/leanintoart. Or you can go to baronvonbear.com to learn about my next book coming out in 2023 from Iron Circus Comics. Baron Von Bear in the Case of the Two-Faced Statue. Baron Von Bear, expert in the occult, never once wanted to be an adventurer. I forgot I was supposed to use my tax crow voice. But when years of hard work are demolished, along with an ancient stone guardian that rendered harmless his collection of dangerous magical objects, my gum, that's a long sentence, he will have to enter the fray at last. And he will learn to his dismay that those objects are not at all what he believed. You can learn about it at baronvonbear.com, and you can join my Patreon for as little as $1 a month to get behind-the-scenes materials, or sign up for my my monthly newsletter for free, where I'm going to be sharing all sorts of different essays and behind-the-scenes material about Baron Von Bear. baronvonbear.com. Rob?
I have a store of workshops that are available for you to purchase and download the videos. It's all at gumroad.com/Rob Stenzinger. I would love it if you would check out any of the things, even the free offering of the Where Next Journal PDF. So a lot of these things, it's like there's video plus some downloadable worksheets and stuff to help you think through, personal and professional development matters. Things like goal setting, things like planning your next creative challenge. Maybe you're going to host one. Maybe you're going to just take one on that exists. Got a whole workshop that'll help you work through that. It could be getting into a playful way to explore game development. Well, I've got an ebook that'll help you with that. And of course, there's my comic, Art Geek Zoo, Volume 1, Hidden Talent. All this stuff and more is at my Gumroad store. Go to gumroad.com/Rob Stenzinger.
Right. So how about we talk about what we'd like to do next? What kind of things? Yeah, we do a lot of different kinds of practices in the 2-minute practice, which we talked about at the top. But, is there anything in your gut, Rob, that you're thinking like that? I'm feeling like this is the direction. I'm feeling like that is the direction. What are you thinking?
Well, it's not a lot of ways to base this decision of like, what do you want to practice next? It could be sort of the mix of, I want different experience and I want to get into new kinds of things and put myself in those situations, or stuff that I know I should be doing, but I'm going to make it safe to try the tasks that don't seem as appealing, right? I'm going to make that the practice. I think it's been a while since we've done that category, right? Where, I don't know, like one of them that we did that was in that broad brush range of practices was looking at your web presence, could be your portfolio or whatnot, and then coming up with like new ways to say some of that stuff. Do an edit pass of your page. And honestly, that one was a hard one, which is kind of expected. Do we have anything like that? Like maybe personal and professional development, could be lean extra toward professional and business. What comes to mind for you?
I like that idea a lot because, as you pointed out, that was one where we discovered it was emotionally expensive. And when it's emotionally expensive, we don't, at least I didn't show up, not even at all. Like I just didn't do any because I found it too difficult to get started.
Let's think of that then too.
Well, but so how do we mitigate that? I just did a live stream this morning for my Patreon, and one of the things I was talking about was all of the little sort of bumper rails, like in bowling when you put up those like little guardrails so that you can't go into the gutter, like when you're playing with kids. Like I do that for myself creatively all the time to protect myself from going down a rabbit hole. Like somebody asked, like, are you going to ink digitally? I'm like, I can't. I spend too much time noodling and I can't trust myself. I've proven that I can't trust myself. Therefore, I'm not going to allow myself to even go there. I'm just going to ink on paper because then I'll actually finish it. Same, like things like there's certain foods that I know that I will not stop eating it until it's gone. So I just don't get that food and I don't make that food anymore because I can't be trusted with it. And I feel like, okay, well, I've learned that if you say to me, go and look at your marketing copy or look at your web presence and update it, I'm like, I'm not going to do it. I won't show up. Okay, well, how can I narrow it down to one little thing? Let's talk about you're just going to do this one task for 2 minutes, right? And one of the things I'm thinking about is something that came up in the Lean Into Art Discord channel at leanintoart.com/Discord, where someone was talking about a hub site of all of the different things that I make, like how much they would enjoy a hub site. I'm like, well, isn't that just like a links page? And then I thought again, I'm like, wait a second, I service a lot of visual thinkers, right? So having some kind of visual representation of all the stuff that I do, sort of akin to what we did with our influence map a few episodes ago. Mm-hmm. But what if we did something where we make see if we can do something in 2 minutes ago, build a demo a draft of a landing page that visually represents all the stuff that we do.
That seems pretty specific. So this would be, let's say, do you mean like 2 minutes at a time, develop that page as, in what form? Would this be gathering the visual stuff you've produced already? Or would it be like thumbnailing or wireframe?
Well, I mean, obviously, as always, this can be open to your interpretation. We invite everybody to hack the game. But for me, what I was thinking is I would just make a static HTML page on my website to start with. And then I would go into something like Canva, and put together thumbnails I would probably sit down and what are all the categories of the things that I do? I make comics, I teach comics, I make podcasts, I do, advocacy work as a festival administrator, whatever buckets. I would define my buckets and I'd create a thumbnail for each of those things to point to a specific page someplace. See how far I can get in 2 minutes ago.
That's cool. So you're gathering the buckets of what you do, examples that have both a link and a visual.
Is that too much for 2 minutes though? Is that that seems like a lot?
Well, I think there's a couple ways where it can seem like less. So it's like naming those things that you're trying to gather is a start. I think we're starting on a foundation of generally assuming stuff based on a pattern, right? So we're assuming stuff like your goals and audience goals a bit, right? Because a links page is a convenient but flexible contact mechanism to say, I'm in social presences where I can't keep sharing specific links. So I need a place for you to go to get the specific links, right? This is a pattern that's appearing more and more. Different social networks, different, constraints. A lot of them don't want you to be sharing specific links. So a lot of us have this need of a links page, but then you're saying, visual folks, a lot of visual storytellers in our audience. And also us, what if we said, instead of just plain text links, we make them visual, what have you? So I think if we're standing on a foundation of a variety of questions that have already been answered, that to me, just acknowledging that, it seems fairly specific enough. What do you think about that?
Okay.
Were these assumptions accurate or maybe not?
So I guess if we were to say like, what would be, this is something we talk about in our mini workshop episodes. Like, what would be good to have on hand to try? What would be nice to have? What's the bare essentials to have? I would say if you have a links page in existence already, and I have a link tree page that I use on my Instagram. I also have been meaning to get around to doing a links page on my proper website, so I'm not depending on a third party to handle the service of directing people at my things. Then start there. That would be a nice thing to have, so that way you can just dive into, okay, I'm going to make a thumbnail for each of those different links and then put them on a static HTML page to create a landing page. That I feel like is manageable 2 minutes at a go with 14 days to try. All
right. So I think then what we have is sort of a potentially a tiered practice of create the links page and then try to look at ways to enhance it visually with, which in a way is saying that you've got the link, you've got the text you use to describe the link, right? But then if there's a visual, so now the text and the visual can reinforce one another and really help your audience choose among stuff in that list, because a lot of link tree type approaches are just a list of links that maybe they look kind of like rectangles and buttons, but that doesn't still help you understand what's behind it. So okay, so that's like the deeper path, but functional. Like first, it's like make your own links page. That fair?
Yeah, that is. And I mean, this is the kind of challenge that gets me excited, because there's something that I'm going to be able to ship at the end. If I stick to it and if I do them all, by the end I'll have a product of some kind, which isn't the objective of 2 Minute Practice, but that is a flavor that I like to bring to all of my creative challenges. Is, can I do something that will be nourishing and interesting to do? There'll be some learning experience that I can bring to this thing that we call 2 Minute Practice, but I also have a thing that I can use outside of the 2 Minute Practice, right?
So this is very much a can of worms practice. Like there's no doubt you could spin your wheels saying, I have to pick a links page tech thing.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're in that situation, the concept of creating a links page is just as valid. Like, so treat it as a blueprint to be like, this is me scribbling on paper where I would like to go with the links page. So if you do that at a time, you're going to be facing the puzzle of a links page. If you feel comfortable to act on it in like actually, constructing type stuff, you're going to find new things to bump into. And like, what is the cost of this task of creating and maintaining a links page? So there's a lot of possible avenues in this, and that could be good ambiguity, could be a lot of friction. Who knows? But yeah, this will be, I'm going to have a fun time trying to title this one, unless you have it off the top of your head.
Yeah. There was a thing I used to do in my professional development sessions that was borrowed from my mentor, where we call it the thinking linking session, like where we're thinking about what we just experienced and linking it to our previous knowledge and linking it towards future activities that we're going to try. And so thinking about linking might be it, but that might be a little vague. But I mean, that ambiguity might be a good thing.
I'm sold. No. This needs an appropriately ambiguous title.
Well, so, I anticipate that there are people in the Lean Into Art Discord who will probably step into this one and be like, yeah, this is something I need to do. Let's try it. But yes, it's going to be one where if you've never done this before, probably sitting down and just doing 2 minutes at a go, capturing the links to things that you are involved with might be the place to start. Maybe that would be the entire practice for you. It's just like codifying a list of stuff that you want to bring attention to, of things that you do.
Yes. So let's see where this practice goes. I'm excited. There's so many avenues. And it's got necessity. It has all kinds of traps. This is an interesting one. Like I love it. This is certainly a different flavor of practice that I would say it's maybe we've never done something quite this flavor before. So this is fun.
Oh, good. Okay. I'm glad? Question mark. We'll see how we feel in 2 weeks. All right. Well, gosh, it sounds good to me. Thank you so much, Robin. And it's time to roll out, and let's all try to think about our links page. And remember, 2 minutes is a findable amount of time. You can play along with our chosen practice or hack the game, create your own.
And choose your practice, whatever it is, what we chose or something else, and then that timer. Use that 2 minutes. Comment and share your experience on the Lean Into Art Discord, which you can easily join. Go to leanintoart.com/Discord. And then you'll see, and you are able to share in the hashtag challenges_quest channel.
And we'll be back with another 2-minute practice in 2 weeks. Thanks for watching. I've been Jerzy Drozd of leaningtoart.com and rss.jdrozd.com for everything I make.
And I've been Rob Stenzinger, also of Lean Into Art. And you can find articles and stuff I make at interactive-storyteller.com.
Okay, bye.